Coming up, let's break down the Broncos 2024 schedule presented by Game Time. Get $20 off your first purchase when you use code CHATSPORTS. Terms apply, but we'll tell you all about them later on. But I do want to know what your record predictions are for the Broncos. Last year I had them going 9-8. They went 8-9. Let's see if you can be more accurate than myself down in the comment section. The Broncos 2024 schedule has been leaked. It's on the internet, and it's from a good enough source where I'm able to trust it and run with it. Now, the official schedule announcement will come out in a few hours, but you get a sneak peek at the Broncos 2024 schedule. So we're going to run through all 17 games, and then we'll circle back and go game by game, breaking down each one. But let's start things off week 1 at Seattle against the Seahawks yet again. Then Russell Wilson's revenge game, week 2. The Pittsburgh Steelers come to town. Week 3 in Tampa against the Bucs. Week 4 in New Jersey against the Jets. Week 5 home against the Raiders, followed by another home matchup against the Chargers. Week 7 is Sean Payton's Super Bowl. It is in New Orleans against his former team on Thursday Night Football. Week 8 home against the Panthers. Week 9 they travel across the country to Baltimore to face off against the Ravens, followed by a road matchup in Kansas City. Back-to-back tough games right there. Week 11, home against Atlanta. Then they go to Las Vegas and play the Raiders in Week 12. Week 13 is their second and only primetime matchup, Browns, Monday Night Football in Denver. Week 14, Denver and myself finally catches our breath as they have a bye, a very late bye too, unfortunately. Week 15, home against the Colts, followed by a really tough run actually altogether. Week 16 in LA against the Chargers. Week 17 in Cincinnati against Burrow and the Bengals. And then to wrap it all up, how about Mahomes and the Chiefs at home in Week 18? Now we're going to go game by game and break it all down for you. But make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're closing in on 22,000 subscribers, 68 subs away. Vinegar strokes, people. So hit the sub button down below. Get daily Broncos content, breaking news. And if we get enough subscribers, we can get some live shows going every single week. Plus, it's 100% free. Now, let's go back to each game and break it down one by one. Starting off week 1 at Seattle against the Seahawks. This is their third week 1 matchup with the Seahawks since 2018 when they played Seattle at home. And, of course, we don't need to bring up 2022. But the good news is Hackett is not there to bring his timeouts back to Denver with him on 4th down in the 4th quarter. I still get triggered thinking about it. Then, the matchup we've all been waiting for. Week 2, home against Russell Wilson and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers, by the way, and I like to do this for every single matchup, what do the Steelers and every other team they're playing do the week before? They are in Atlanta week 1. So back-to-back road games for Pittsburgh. Not optimal, I would say, for Russell Wilson and company, but we'll get more into that in just a moment. Week 3, they're at Tampa Bay against the Buccaneers, and my suspicion is they will stay out east because Week 4 is in New York, New Jersey against the Jets. So Week 4 against the Jets, Week 3 against the Buccaneers. We'll put the Jets on screen for you, but that's the first 4 matchups for the Broncos. But I think the game we're all looking at right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers matchup, right? It's Russell Wilson's revenge game against the Broncos. It's his opportunity to stick a fork and turn it to Sean Payton for moving on from him. And it's Sean Payton's opportunity to show what the issue was last year. Him or Russell Wilson and why they finished 8-9. So who you got in this game? Broncos or Steelers? I'm excited from the Broncos' vantage point of what's best for Denver. I would say that's playing Russell Wilson as soon as possible. Last time Russell Wilson played in a highly emotional return game, which Denver was a part of, week 1 in Seattle, did not come out very well for Russell Wilson. This time, if it's early on yet again, maybe the emotions kind of get the best of him before he settles in with his new team and develops that chemistry that he could have had if they played maybe in week 12, 13, or 14 against the Broncos. I think playing Russell Wilson earlier is better for Denver and less advantageous for Pittsburgh. Week 5, it's home against the Las Vegas Raiders. Week 6, they have back-to-back AFC West matchups. The Chargers come to town, and this will be Sean Payton and the Broncos' first look at Jim Harbaugh's team, which is going to be a lot tougher of a team. I mean, look physically tough than the previous regime with Brandon Staley. Week 7, it is a big matchup for Sean Payton. It is in New Orleans against the Saints, his former team for a decade plus, on Thursday Night Football. The first time we'll see the Broncos play in Thursday Night Football. I hope at that point Bo Nix is starting. Sorry, Jared. Sorry, Zach Wilson. Not really, though. That would be a lot of fun. Now, by the way, the Saints, they are home before this Thursday night game, so they don't have to travel back to New Orleans. Plus, they're also playing the Chiefs on Monday Night Football the week prior. So the Saints will have 2 primetime games in a 3-week span. Week 8, it is the Josie Jewel Ejiro Evero return to Mile High as the Panthers come to town. The big matchup in this stretch in the Broncos schedule is, of course, Sean Payton's return to New Orleans as the Broncos and Saints will play on Thursday Night Football Week 7. It's our game time featured matchup as well. But how can you not be excited about this return right here? It's get your popcorn ready type of game. Sean Payton back in the Big Easy. All the eyes are going to be on him in his return. We just got to hope the emotions don't bubble over him. But today's show is sponsored by Game Time. And if you want to go to that Game Time featured matchup between the Broncos and the Saints, download the Game Time app today and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. There's nothing more frustrating than spending time searching for the best ticket prices, which is why you should give Game Time a shot. They have flash deals, zone deals, and the lowest price guaranteed. So if you are trying to catch a game, concert, or any other event in your local area, download Game Time today and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. It's the best place to find last-minute seats. So if you want to go see an Avs game, a Nuggets game, or any other local sporting event or concert, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Don't worry, I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Now, let's return to our schedule breakdown. Week 9, they play in Baltimore against the Ravens. The Ravens, the prior week, I don't have that schedule just yet, but it's not going to be easy sledding here. I mean, they come out of that Panthers home game, they go to Baltimore, and then they go to Arrowhead, and they take on the Chiefs in Week 10. So Kansas City, Week 10 for the Broncos. We'll get that on screen for you right now. That's going to be a tough back-to-back matchup, right? You're looking at the AFC Championship finalists here in 2 straight weeks. But the funny thing about the schedule reveal is people get so animated and worked up about it, when the reality is we have no idea who's playing quarterback, most important position for any of these teams. As we saw last year, it only took 4 snaps for the New York Jets season to turn upside down. Week 11, home against the Falcons. That'll be the Kirk Cousins-led Falcons. So a bit of a tougher Falcons team than the past few years. The Falcons, by the way, they were going to, in Week 10 for Atlanta, they're playing in New Orleans. So back-to-back road games for Atlanta. Week 12, it is a showdown in the Sin City against the Raiders. We have a somewhat new Raiders-look team with Gardner Minshew quarterback in that squad. Then Week 13, it is the Browns coming to Denver for back-to-back seasons. But this time, it's going to be under the lights of Monday Night Football. The second, and unless the schedule change happens, final primetime matchup for the Broncos. Now, before we look at the remaining games that Denver has on slate, which Broncos game do you want to go to this season? Like, if you want to go to game, use Game Time for sure. But on top of that, which game do you feel like would be an awesome matchup to go to? Hard not to pick Week 2, Russell Wilson's return with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Sean Payton in New Orleans. I will never not support a trip to New Orleans. It's one of America's best cities. So let me know which game you want to go to. Finally, in Week 14, Denver gets a bye. Very late bye. I think Week 14 is like the final week for a bye. Maybe it's Week 15, but still, you know Sean Payton feels like the NFL is out to get him. That's pretty well documented from the poor officiating he went through in New Orleans and him believing that he's at the center of like a witch hunt, all because of the Bountygate scandal. So maybe he feels like the NFL screwed him over with a late bye here. Week 15, home against the Colts. These next few matchups here, they're tough. Now, the Colts the prior week, by the way, are playing at New York against the Jets on Sunday Night Football. So back-to-back road matchups for Indianapolis, so a little bit of an advantage Denver in that situation. Week 16, they go down to the Chargers Stadium at SoFi, and they'll play Harbaugh for a second go-around. Last time they played in LA against the Chargers, there was no Justin Herbert. It was a much easier game for the Broncos. Probably going to be different this time. This stretch right here is brutal. Week 17 against the Bengals on the road. As long as Joe Burrow is healthy, it's never going to be easy to knock off the Bengals. So you go from the Colts, who were one drop pass away on fourth down from going to the playoffs last year, to Harbaugh and Herbert, to Burrow and the Bengals, and then in Week 18, you've got the Kansas City Chiefs, who, by the way, the previous week, Week 17, they're playing on Christmas Day against the Pittsburgh Steelers, which means they are going to be coming off an 11-day rest. Actually, the Broncos are playing 3 teams this year that are coming off a Wednesday, Christmas Day, or Thursday night game, so 10 to 11 days of rest. The other ones, Week 4 when they played the Jets, that is them coming off a Week 3 Patriots matchup on Thursday Night Football. And then the Browns, when they come in for Sunday or for Monday Night Football, they're coming off 11 days of rest. And then you've got the Kansas City Chiefs coming off Wednesday Night Football, Christmas Day. So even more rest for Kansas City. So not optimal for Denver to be catching 3 teams all coming off a ton of rest. That feels a little bit higher than your average season. But predict the Broncos record one more time for me. I'm going to give the Broncos a 9-8 record. I could probably be talked into maybe a 10-7. I think they'll be an above 500 ball club this year, but I think 9-8 is somewhere in the neighborhood. But let me know what your record prediction is down below in the comment section.